Hi, here we are.
Hey.
Steph, welcome to the Don's Table. If you don't know, this is episode number 4. You already know how we give it up on this podcast. It's just really me and my homies, and you're definitely one of my homies in many different ways, from professional to personal. We here and we rocking. This is Steph. Well, one of my great homies. Steph is actually the one behind the branding of Don Carvajal Café, which is this. He actually designed this, right? So me and Steph are like Batman and Robin when it comes to physical stuff,
I like that.
graphics. Feel me?
Yeah.
That's kind of how that goes. And I feel like we could get really deep and educate a lot of people when it comes to design stuff. People always compliment Don Carvajal Cafe's branding and kind of the story and stuff like that. And that's like a combination of me and you, right? The story is the story and the branding is the branding. So I first wanted to get into you. Tell me about yourself. Introduce yourself. I feel like you're one of those people that not enough people know about.
Yeah, I'm behind the scenes.
Yeah, and that's what I like about this podcast. I could bring you somebody crazy named and super famous, but it's also like you should really get to know my homie right here. Because my homie is the truth. You just don't know about my homie just yet. But now you're going to know about my homie, so knock it out the park.
I appreciate that. So my name is Steph Venegas. I am a brand designer / photographer. I've been designing for the last 10 years, I want to say, which is crazy. It bugs me out. But yeah, born and raised in Uptown New York City, from Dyckman, for those who know. Super
me?
proud of that. Yeah.
Uptown,
Holding it down.
the real
right?
Uptown.
Yeah, literally. So went to college in Brooklyn, in City Tech, went to a CUNY, and immediately after college, once I graduated, I worked at a bike company. From a bike company, just designing for them for maybe like 2 years, and that's kind of like how I got my footing in like the professional like design world. And I thought I knew what I was doing. I thought I was like, all right, this is it. This is cool. This is exactly what I wanted to do. And I finally got an opportunity to work with the Parks Department. I saw an opening. I took it. I threw my hat in. I actually got it. It was only supposed to be like a temp position. So I was only supposed to be there for like 6 months. And that turned into almost 6 years. Designing everything under the sun, like that has that leaf. We're talking about reports for like the urban park rangers, merch for the parks department, every single piece of signage that you see on the street, we were working on that, the little sticker signs for the litter, things like that. So from there, I pretty much gained a lot of knowledge. I want to say that it was like boot camp, and I decided to kind of go on my own. And it's been a full year that I've been working 100% as a freelance designer. Crazy. It's been a really cool ride, but I've kind of racked up a really cool client list, and I'm very fortunate to be able to work with people like you, my homies. Very blessed, and just kind of riding the wave.
That's true. Wow. I have these things that I really wanted to get into, and then this happens even when I do public speaking.
Organic.
I speak at high schools and colleges sometimes and whatever. And I write a script, and then I look at the crowd. I just talk to them for 5 minutes, and I'm like, yeah, never mind. You want to talk about that, right? So I didn't even include in this you being a freelance, and you doing that for a year. So before I even tap into this, we'll make it brief because there's a lot of stuff I want to get super meaty into. What's your experience being freelance, positive and the negatives? Because I was actually chatting on Instagram in the comment section of some posts about how people, working for yourself is so hard. And I'm like, homie, I love this shit. And I don't like cursing, but I love this shit. You know what I mean? Like, what? Like, I have bad days, but I have great days, and I get to enjoy those great days. What is that like for you?
It's been interesting. I will say that again, boot camp, right? I came out of boot camp for the Parks Department, so I feel like my mentor did a really good job at like training me and like being really disciplined with myself. It's ebb and flow, right? I have been super blessed. And a part of my issue, right, is that you had mentioned like not a lot of people know about me, right? So one of my biggest issues is like compiling the catalog of work that I have. And I'm super indecisive. You're always going to be your worst client. So in order to like capture clients, you have to actually put yourself out there. I haven't put myself out there that much besides the work that I've been doing. And I've been able to pull clients just off of that. And I'm not cold calling, hey, like, do you need a designer? Do you need to do this? It's been organic, which I don't think a lot of people have that, experience. It's a lot of the folks that are saying that it's hard. It is hard because you have to be on top of yourself. But if you're not organized, if you're not committed, like you really got to drink your own Kool-Aid. Yeah. And, not to quote the rapper Russ, but like you have to be delusional. Like you really do have to drink your Kool-Aid, and you have to believe that like all the crazy amount of like work that you're putting in and all the hours that you're spending on doing this, like I've been stressed. Like it's not like flowers and daisies every day, but in order to like get the clients, I've been super fortunate. Just like my work speaks for itself, and like I met you through someone else. You know what I mean? That's kind of been like my journey, and I'm hella blessed. Like I'm just stoked, and I'm I just want to keep kind of pushing that envelope. You know, so now I'm like really concentrating. I'm using myself as my own client. I'm like, you got to concentrate on like putting your catalog out there. Yeah. So I've been working on my website actually this past week, and damn, bro, all the work.
It's a lot.
And I forget about it. I forget about a lot of the stuff that I do because it's just like I'm so used to the cadence, like the fast cadence. And like we've worked together, we've been shoulder to shoulder pumping out design work. Yeah, and like you know that I could work fast, and it's like it's just on to the next thing, on to the next thing. I'm about the final product than like all this other, like the jargon that goes into the whole, business aspect.
I feel like the one thing I picked up from this is that it is hard, but it's not hard enough for you to quit. Like if you really 100%. Believe in yourself, it's really not that hard. Like when the theme of this week's conversations with people for some reason has been when you lead with passion, it's a different feel as a consumer. 100%. When a company operates out of I want to make money off rip, you're going to feel the I want to make money off of this ASAP. When you operate out of passion, people feel a different energy to the point where they really want to fuck with you. And it's a different ballgame. You know what I mean? Hey, that's the long term.
Yeah.
So, two things. One, people really love Don Carvajal Café, right? It's my actual story. It's a real life thing. People love Mr. Fu, which you could get into in a little bit. And brands that you've worked with. We've collaborated with Mir. We've done a lot of great work with them together and stuff like that. What do you think makes a brand story resonate so well with its audience?
I think authenticity, honestly. Like, speaking about your story, when you get in front of the camera, when you're in front of a crowd, like, you're telling your story. So it's easily digestible. You know what I mean? And easy to believe in because folks can connect with it. People can say like, oh, well, I see myself in him or her, and I think being able to like kind of connect with your audience in an authentic way, I think that's it.
Yeah, when we first met, I had invested thousands of dollars into the branding of Don Carvajal Café, and I did one round, scrapped it, then another round, I didn't like it, and then we just kept on throwing darts. I'm the type of person, if I don't like something, I won't put it out. Because it's a reflection of me and my team or whatever. Yeah. And if it just doesn't align with me, I'm just not putting it out. So then we linked up at some point. I already had some previous work. Then we made it even bigger. We combined it and we slapped it together. And then, pow. Yeah. Then whatever you're seeing, it's like the modern version. Yeah. Why do you think a lot of people have a hard time telling their story digitally?
I think it even goes back to working with whoever is actually creating the visual identity for you. So like during the discovery process, we sat down, we spoke, I heard what the problems were. Like at the end of the day, I'm a designer, but I'm a problem solver. You come to me with a problem and I have to figure that out for you. And then we have to work together. So I think a lot of the issues come during the discovery process where the person that's asking for, like, let's say the business owner, maybe they're not sure what it is they want, or maybe they can't articulate what it is that they want, what they want to see visually, what they want to communicate. Maybe they don't know their target audience, or maybe they're pigeonholing themselves. And then, on the flip side, on the designer side, it's like maybe they're not just grasping like the issue. Maybe they're not finding the solution properly, right? So I think a lot of that has to do with, whether or not something's successful.
Yeah.
So, for example, I know someone that invested, just like you, invested thousands of dollars and got a product that they don't like. And that's painful, and it sucks to hear.
That happens all the time.
100%. And to be completely honest, like, going back to your passion versus monetary comment, I'll be 100% honest with you. Like, it's always been about final product and passion for me. I take pride in walking around the street and being like, I did that. That's so cool. Like, oh my God, So money matters, but money doesn't really matter to me in that sense. Like, I care about the final product, and I care that you're happy with the final product. So I'm going to take my sweet time trying to figure out what the issue is, so that by the time I'm presenting like a logo to you or any kind of draft, we're on the same page, and it's reflective of what you've been asking for, right? So it hurts to like hear people spending thousands of dollars. I'm like, damn, like, people are making this, like, and I understand, like,
give me some of that bread.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, Jesus, like, this, you paid that much for this? And it's not to like, kind of be mean or whatever to other people, because we all have our styles, but it just bugs me out because I've never been in that mentality of like, you can make this amount of money doing X, Y, and Z. And it's like, damn, like, I feel for you. And that's sort of like when I end up connecting with them, I'm like, I got you, don't worry about it. Like, we'll figure this out, That's the worst. And sometimes it works out for them. Most times it doesn't, so it's rough.
Yeah. There's a running theme on this podcast for some reason. Me and the previous guests, and then now you, we don't all care about money. And I'm talking about people who got millions of dollars to people who are on the come up like me and you. None of us care about money. We just have a passion and a vision, and we run with that. Boom. To move forward, I know there's somebody listening right now, somewhere in the world, that doesn't know how to start their brand, their story, how to market their product. What would you say are some quick tips for somebody to just spark? Because for me, it wasn't hard. All this, Don Carvajal, my grandfather, the face,
came to you.
It just
It was there.
I didn't think about it for 5 minutes. It just clicked in a second. But some people have a hard time with that.
100%. I think it's messaging. Like, what is it that you're doing? What is it that you're saying? Again, audience. That's huge. Because, like, if you don't know your audience, you're shooting darts in the dark,
Right. The world is too big.
Yeah, exactly. Be niche. I'll use myself as an example. Again, you're always the hardest client, right? So designing for myself, like any kind of visual identity that I created for myself within the last 10 years, super hard. I'm like my worst client. But starting the creative studio, Natives, I didn't know what I wanted to, like, how I wanted it to look. And mind you, I do this on the daily, right? Mm-hmm. But even I was struggling with that because I needed to figure out who my audience was. And I knew what I wanted my audience to be. I knew who I wanted to speak to, which was the locals in my neighborhood, people from New York City. Obviously, that would have to be expanded because if you pigeonhole yourself, that's it. You're going to stay stuck. There's no growth there, right? So I would say figure out your target audience. And if it's a niche thing, figure out your niche and go for that. You know what I mean? Hone in on that. And messaging is huge because, I mean, we're constantly just like absorbing so much. So like if you have something you're providing something for like folks, I feel like people eat that up, They find benefit in that.
Yeah,
so.
That's real. One thing that I always talk about, which kind of goes into the passion thing, there's a really big difference of a business and a brand.
100%.
People won't travel or go crazy for a business. They'll go above and beyond for a brand. people will sit online in the cold to wait for a pair of sneakers because of the brand. You know what I mean? Like, people go crazy for brands. People don't go crazy for businesses. You know what I mean? So that's why I wanted to really talk about like building a brand, understanding the messaging of it and stuff like that, because it's just two totally different things. You know what I mean? As a brand, I have a really cool friend who his name is Yasin. I met him in college, and he went to University of Rochester with me. And he told me about this thing called the theory of 1,000 true fans. And it's like, you just got to really focus on building a solid 1,000 true fans. And anything you drop, they will consume. You drop a $10 cup, multiply 1,000 times $10. They gonna cop it. You know what I mean? So it's like, that's really all you need to thrive and survive. 1,000 true fans. I should look it up. I'm not gonna get into it right now.
I gotta read that.
But it was one of the coolest theories I ever heard about. And that's kind of how I feel about the coffee market. It's like, bro, it's a $400-500 billion industry a year.
Wild.
So in my head, I was like, espérate, I just need 1%. Yo, 1% of 500 bill is 5 bill. I think I'll be all right with $5 billion in revenue a year. I think people always think like, yo, let me go for the pie. I want 100%. Nah, stop being greedy, son. Everybody got to eat. So if you just focus on 1% from a large scale, you just might be able to do some shit. And I feel like people have that wrong approach of like business versus brand. So it was just an interesting thought. So what do you think about that?
I feel like, brand loyalty is like a real thing. Like, I'll tell you right now, I won't wear Adidas, but I'm Nike and Vans. Like, that's, and MRFU. Like, that's literally all I wear. Sprinkle a little bit of Only in there, but brand loyalty is a real thing. And, you know, I feel like once you gain the trust of the audience that you're, targeting, that's going to surpass any kind of, I think the brand feeds into the business. If you don't have the brand and like that trust, you know what you're going to get. I feel like brands are successful. Successful brands do their thing because people trust in the product before even seeing the product. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that is essential. Building that, 100% essential first before you could even think about making money. You know what I mean? It's like having like disciples or something, like having your crew behind you, like believing. And, talking about MRFU, like that's kind of how the brand has grown in the last 3 years. It's just having like the core people like really like just rock with us. You know what I mean? Anything we put out, it's like, yeah, cool, I'm copying. No questions asked. And then like building the whole hype thing, right? Things being super limited. Like I feel like that also feeds into it. If you create a brand that's like built on limited quantities, limited stock, that also helps elevate this like drive for people. People are like, naturally they're like, oh my God, I need this right now because it's gonna sell out. I'm gonna see Homeboy with it. I'm not gonna get a piece, and it's America.
I always say it's like marriage.
Yeah,
you gotta treat your brand like a marriage.
100%.
If everybody could have it, why do I want it?
Exactly.
If everybody, sounds crazy, but that's how I treat branding stuff. Like that's how you look at all these companies dropping limited things because not everybody can have it.
Right.
I literally tell people, they're like, what do you mean by that concept? Yeah, if everybody could have your girl, would you want your girl? Unless you're really into open relationships. That's cool. That's a different story. So I was at the gym today, not too long ago, and I was decked out, MRFU.
Hey.
Somebody was like, yo, what does that mean? And I'm like, Mr. F you.
Everyone thinks that. It's so funny.
Yeah, so since you're the creative director, and I know people always ask me that question, can you break down MRFU? What does it stand for? And then a little bit of the history.
Yeah, of course. So it's actually a W. It's not a U, but we played off of the logo, the OG bubble logo. There's like chunks of each letter intentionally taken out so that it looks provocative, and it reads as MRFU or Mr. FU. I call it Mr. Fu, and I feel like a lot of people have kind of jumped on that wagon.
That's what I do. Maybe because of you.
Well, it's because, it's Diddy, right? Diddy's the owner and operator of the brand MRFU. And so essentially he created the brand. He was a sneakerhead growing up, and he had the idea of, similar to Dave's Quality Meats. I don't know if you ever went to the store down in Soho back in the day, but it was a really cool concept store. And he wanted to bring the kind of service that you get at a steakhouse, because that's like an elevated experience, right? And kind of bring that into streetwear, because for him, both food and fashion kind of go together. So being a sneakerhead, some sneakers are rare and most are medium rare. So he thought medium rare footwear. That's crazy. The W.
That's crazy.
So, when he was I wasn't a part of the original branding. I met him a year after the brand launched. And, through my best friend, shout out to Felix, he was like, you really got to meet this dude. He needs a designer, and it'd be great because you live like 10 blocks away. So it's in my neighborhood, which is another huge thing for me. And yeah, so essentially he created the logo to look provocative and kind of just like have that wow factor, because people do turn their heads and they're like, what does that say? But yeah, it's an awesome, and then with the Chop House, the store, so he has a brick and mortar store. He called it the Chop House because, the way it's laid out, it's a double entendre, right? Chop House, like meat market, meat locker, and then you chop it up with your homies or people in the neighborhood, and the layout of the store is set up to be, almost like conversation. It reminds me a lot of like the LeBron like show where he brings people.
The barbershop.
The barbershop. Yeah, people just go and like you talk about anything really. So it's awesome to actually be there. It creates that experience. So
that's cool.
Yeah,
that's dope. I have one bullet here, which I think is mad funny because I thought about it on the drive here.
Okay.
And as human beings, we have pet peeves. 100%. Right? But like as a graphic designer, what are some things? Because I know we work so much.
I got to roll out the scroll. Yeah.
What are some things that you would suggest people don't do when working with graphic designer or creatives?
Like on the client side? Like what they shouldn't do?
Yeah. Because people do it all the time. I see things that I'm just like, you really shouldn't do that.
I mean, I guess on the client side, being the designer, know what you want. Because if you don't know what you want, it's hard for us to figure out. And you're not going to be happy with any product that we create. You know what I mean? But it's also, on the flip side, it's also my job to figure that out with you. Not for you, but with you. So it's very much like a tag team situation. I don't really believe in this whole, like, I designed this, so you need to move forward with it. Yeah. Or, like, I don't want to make the changes that you want to because it doesn't make sense. Being gung-ho about that. I don't really believe in that. But know what you want to, how you want to visually present yourself, what your story is, what your messaging is. Don't follow trends either. I feel like and maybe this is very, like, I feel like I operate a lot differently than my peers, like other people in design.
Yeah.
I don't really follow the design trends. And it's funny because, like, one year I did, like, a logo mark. And after I did that logo mark, I started seeing this style everywhere. Like AT&T, Spectrum, like all sorts of, like, huge companies were using this, like, it was a simple little, like, type treatment. And that goes to, and not that I started, I for sure didn't start this, but my finger was on the pulse without even knowing it, right? So that's all to say, I would stray away from the trends because I feel like a lot of people see something and they're like, this looks cool, I want this for myself, and it actually doesn't match. It doesn't speak to your brand, right?
You're just hopping on the wave.
Exactly. It's like, that's cool, that looks dope, I want that. And it's like, all right, cool, I could give that to you, but is that going to be, beneficial? Is that going to be successful?
Right.
I don't know. You know? So that's one big thing. Yeah, I mean, again, just know what you want.
Yeah.
Like,
you know what I feel like? I mean, that happens all the time, but the latest version of that I saw was that hat, the gallery department. It was like the gallery depth. And then with a dot.
Yeah.
Everybody ran with that. I almost made a hat that said the coffee department. You know what I mean?
It's
just
like a big thing. Yeah.
It was just cuz, but I didn't.
I feel like that's successful. People do that because they're like, oh, there's a wave going on. And if I can, this is very specific to, like, this brand, whatever.
Commoditize it right now.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And it's like, for coffee department, people would have jumped on that. Because they know the gallery department and they're like, oh, this is so funny. I love coffee, so I want to be in the coffee department too. Yeah. And it would have been successful, but it's like, it's not authentic. It's just, you're jumping on a wave.
I'm so glad you said that because I have this really strong thing, like, right? At the gym, I slammed some weights earlier. I was like, I'm sorry, everybody. I just had a moment.
Yeah.
And I really hate doing that for like hate is a strong word.
I was
But
about to say it.
I really hate thinking that way because I never do it. Like I see coffee brands like get a can that looks like Bustelo and then co-branding it themselves and then like making it feel like Bustelo colors, but it's like their brand name and like a coffee name. And I'm just like, you're just hopping on their wave, bro. Like how about you create the next thing that feels like a Bustelo can, but when you see it, you don't think of Bustelo. You think of who you are.
Right.
Like when I think of like that New York City cup, I love that cup. The blue one with the Greek style thing. It was designed a minute ago. Yeah. I love that cup. And me and you were having a conversation like, yo, I want to create the next most iconic cup that people use all over New York City. Like, yeah, you're drinking at our cafes, but like, I just want to create a cup that people feel like, oh my God, that cup screams New York.
Right.
Because it became a staple of the environment, of the geography. You know what I mean? And that's one thing I hate, like, when people do that, because I'm just like, bro, like you're kind of almost watering down your brand because now you're just a person that jumps on every wave. It's like Instagram. When you look at trending audios, I see people's Instagrams. It's just them creating things of trending audios, them dancing and this, that. Like, oh, you're the trending audio person. I know when there's a trending audio, you're gonna be like to the trending audio. Funny. Like, yo, you look like a puppet, bro.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like finding that balance of keeping up with social media and all these trending audios and all these things they're trying to do, but then also staying true to the brand. So that's why I don't hop on everything. And for me, it's like finding that perfect balance of like keeping up with modern styles and trends, but then also still remaining original. Like people feel like our brand has been around for 100 years and they're like, so you inherited this from your grandfather, right? Like, nah, I started this and I really started working on it 2018. I launched it 2019 and I used to always put the EST established 2019 on the branding. Yeah, and then we spoke about that because I was like, yo, that ages your brand. It makes it feel like it was 100 years old and a legacy brand, but now you just made it a super premature young brand. And sometimes people battle with trusting a brand when they know it's so new.
100%.
That's the same thing with being young and being in the game. People don't really trust you like that. They want you to be a well-seasoned veteran. 100%. What do you think about these trends, yo?
I'm horrible with them. I don't jump on them for sure. A part of me struggles with that, but if I did, that wouldn't be authentic to me. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like that wouldn't be me. Mm-hmm. I feel like my friends would be like, "What the hell are you doing? Like, what is this?
You're
right?
Crazy,
right?" And I think, although I don't do that for myself. Not to be a hater. I always joke around that, oh yeah, like I'm a hater, but I respect the fact that people are like, yo, I gotta get on it. Like this is what's hot right now. I have to jump on this. Yeah. And sometimes it's done very well, and other times it's done not so well, and it's like distasteful. Yeah. And you can kind of differentiate that, right? So, I mean, power to the people. Like, if that's your thing, that's awesome. I don't see myself doing that. I do, like, if there's a trending audio, I'm like, I'm gonna put Puffy, or probably not Puffy because that's a little controversial right now, but maybe some Biggie, you know?
I forgot all about that.
Yeah, sorry, it's too soon. It's too fresh. But yeah, like I would throw on some like 90s hip hop. Like I prefer Mace. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Take it back to your time that you feel was relevant.
Yeah, but I also, and I think it's a personality thing, right? Like I'm all about old New York. And this new, like rich New York, I was born in the wrong time, honestly. Yeah. So you know, the Ice Spice song that's been out, like that's like a mix
she in her mood.
Yeah, but it's actually, what's funny is that, and this kind of like correlates a little bit, not really, but that remix that's trending right now is a mix of that and like All About the Benjamins, I think. And that's a 90s rap song, like came out, 97 or something? Yeah. 98. So, I don't know. Like instead of using that, I'd just use All About the Benjamins. Like that's my vibe. But I mean, more power to them. Like, I respect it. It's not for me, but I understand why. That's the only way to, like, break through this algorithm, right? And we live in a world of algorithms, which sucks.
I love it sometimes when old songs go viral.
100%.
There was, like, that Tego Calderon song that they did a little remix to it, and then the original popped off. All you need is Bad Bunny to sample it one time, and then you're done. Kaboom. It's a movie, película, right?
Yep.
That's one thing I love when old songs are trending because people hopped on it, and it's like, you wasn't even alive when this song came out. Yeah. Which is cool. There was something I was thinking about the trending, man, but it'll come back to me. Right now, we live in a digital world, and we've been talking about digital design. I think people forget how important it is to have a digital presence. I mean, you look at Sears, struggling. Look at Macy's, struggling. Toys R Us, closed. Now apparently it's coming back. And I don't even like talking about other brands on this podcast because I have a thing about digital equity and whatever. But I feel like I need to say that for you to understand where I'm coming from. I used to work at Macy's, and I used to be like, man, they really aren't keeping up with these things. I used to be like, we will have slow days. Like, why aren't people here? I used to work at 34th Street, the main one.
That was packed back in the day.
Bro,
when I was a kid.
what?
But they're antiquated. Even the building's antiquated.
Yeah. And that's one of those things. Brands like that just fail to keep up. Like, sometimes people don't want to get with the times. And I feel like in our neighborhoods, there's a lot of businesses that sometimes the owners are just not old, but they've been around for a while. And
stuck in their ways a little bit.
When they were young, there was no Instagram.
100%.
Maybe their kids are on Instagram, but their kids aren't involved in the business. What would you say? Because there's a lot of like local gems that we love in our neighborhoods, even some that you've taken me to, but they just don't have a great digital presence. And unfortunately now, it's not TV. Nobody watches TV no more. You streaming. Now there's like ads on Netflix, which is funny.
On Hulu, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But that's the closest thing I feel like to TV ads or radio ads. What do you think about that in local neighborhoods? Because like I always try to help people with content. And my thing is like, bro, the simpler, the better. People do too much and they lose the messaging. They get lost in their own sauce. Yeah. So it's like, what do you think about these local neighborhood shops not being there? Because we try to help as much as we can, but there's only so much we could do.
100%. And it's really hard to sell, fulano that has a bodega and, there's like cobwebs and stuff. They're not really like bringing in new product. It's hard to justify like, hey, spend $1,500 on this package that will revamp everything. They just don't understand that. You know what I mean? They're just like, that's a lot of money. And what is this going to bring me? Like, they don't understand the power of, the digital world, right?
They used to the flip.
100%. Or like just
buy this, da-da-da.
Word of mouth. They're, I think a lot of local businesses, they run on the locals. And I think a part of the problem right now, which I'm struggling with, a huge reason as to why I created the studio, Natives, is to help the local businesses. Because, as you know, Uptown NYC is 100% getting gentrified rapidly. Started like in Hamilton Heights, or what they're calling Hamilton Heights, like Washington Heights, all the way, like it crept up into Inwood, where I live. And I don't recognize anyone in my neighborhood. I see a couple of doñas, some people that have known me since kids. I grew up working in that neighborhood as well, working at the local bike shop for like 10 years. And I used to know everyone. I don't recognize anyone. There's a couple of businesses that are closing. Like, I'm deathly afraid that my taco spot's going to close.
Not the taco spot?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And it's like, it's because it's dingy. It's because, the new wave of people, this new exodus that's happening like into this neighborhood, they don't understand that like this is the pop and taco spot, but it looks dirty to them, so they don't want to go in. Or they check online and they don't have like a website, and people react to this and they immediately judge whether or not they're gonna mess with you or not.
Reviews,
100%. There's Yelp,
or the photos on Google.
If they're not popping, exactly. If they don't visually appeal to them, they're like, I don't want to do that. So one of the driving reasons why I made that studio is to actually help these owners, but be realistic, because I understand that they're not gonna want to. Well, they don't have the budget to be paying what we usually get paid, right? So, as like a born and raised Inwood Knight, right, like a Dyckman kid, my biggest goal is to fix the like help the businesses and like change the landscape before it disappears. I mean, a lot of it disappeared already, but I would love to go to like G's, where we had breakfast that morning on 207 and Cooper. I want to rebrand their whole thing and like work with the family, like vamos a meter mano, like it's gonna be all of us. It's not. I'm not gonna I'll bring in my people that will like help out or whatever, but like it's about it's like a facelift, right? So just to kind of ensure that the business will stay afloat. And a lot of people don't understand that. And that's essential. It's so important. So, I mean, again, it's happening in my backyard, and I'm definitely like afraid of it. And it's just hard to walk around with like an iPad. Like, I have to work on that. Like, I probably need like another person with me to like, you know, to try to sell people on it. Like, don't worry about it. Like, we got you, you know, like Piragua carts. I did a couple of designs for some people, like local vendors, pastelitos, you know what I mean? Like, we got to brand this so that you're thinking about the guy on Dyckman, right?
You know.
Yeah.
I was going to get into that, but go ahead.
My people are on 207 in Sherman. It's just a husband and a wife. And they are hustlers, bro. What the hell? They're the best. And I don't know. I've never tried the pastelitos. That dude on Dyckman and Broadway.
You gotta take me to your guy.
I gotta go.
Guy.
Yeah. And it's like you build these relationships with them. Like my boy goes and like they love him. They're like, oh, tu amiguita.
Brand versus business.
That's what I'm saying. It's and they don't have a brand, but it's the experience.
They are the brand.
Exactly. Those two are the brand. Exactly. And it's like the business will come, but it's the camaraderie. It's the, oh my God, how's your family? Like I haven't seen you.
What?
Oh, you got back from the island? How was it? You know, like I'll go all the way to 207 in Sherman just for the pastelitos from my block instead of going to the bakery on Dyckman. You know what I mean? Because it's like, I know it's going to be good. The people, I'm supporting like this family that I know. And like, that means the most to me. Like you got to keep the money in the neighborhood if you don't want the neighborhood to change. And I don't think a lot of people, especially people our age, understand that. It's like you can't get mad that the neighborhood is changing, but you're not shopping in the shops. Like you're not shopping in the businesses, you know?
I really wish I had it in front of me, but there's a graphic about the dollars, and I'm not going to get into the ethnic groups about the dollars, but in some neighborhoods, in some races, $1 will last X amount of hours or days or months or years circulating in certain communities. In our communities, dollars don't even last like a day. They just leave. They go to the corporate brands, other countries, other worlds, other communities. They don't really circulate where we come from. We fall in love with these big things, these trends, and the money doesn't stay in our neighborhoods.
100%.
Man, there was so many thoughts happening right now. Jesus Christ. Number one, these people are the brand. And I feel like that's the same thing for me. People associate Don Carvajal Café with me because it's so tied to me and my family history. That's one. But listen, man, if you're in Manhattan, Uptown, Inwood, you got to check my man Roberto out, bro. Dyckman and Broadway.
Yeah, in front of Bank of America.
Bro, my man's freshly presses the oranges. Give you a freshly squeezed orange juice. He squeezes every single one. Cuts it into halves.
Fries the pastelitos right there.
Right on the spot.
Yeah.
Don't play yourself. But you got to take me there. I'm not going.
I got you with 207.
We'll go. But my man Roberto got it. Y'all need to go support my mans. And the reason why I bring him up is because one time I picked you up, we were going to this new project we're working on. And I was dying for orange juice. And I saw my man with the car with the orange juice, the naranjas. And I was like, that's the spot right there. And I'm all about local. I love my homies. Sometimes I don't like talk about money, but if it costs 10, I'll give you 20. Like, hold that. Have a good day.
You have to.
All my thoughts came back.
There you go.
We live in a city where people ask you, how are you? But they don't really expect a response. How are you? How's your day? You're not supposed to answer. You just keep on walking. People like Roberto in the 207 spot, they ask you, how are you? But they actually mean like, yo, how are you? And they expect an answer back. Because it's that type of business. It's just slower. And it's a genuine question. That's how we are.
Yeah.
Like we actually like want to know. You know what I mean? So it's a different perspective about that. These people are the brand, the local community. There was one more thought I had. Yeah, my man Roberto had to shout him out, bro. So you can't talk about pastelitos, bro.
Yeah,
you just throw me off, bro.
It's the experience. Ahora tengo hambre. Nah.
You feel me?
Yeah.
Now we're going to have to hit it up. There was one more thought I had. Roberto.
I mean, I think it's essential, you know, when you do have a business, in order to build that brand loyalty, is those kinds of, like, you know, conversations that you have with your customers. And that's how you build your customer base. That's how you build loyalty. It's like, I felt taken care of. Like, they ask you about your weekend, but they're gonna check in and they keep tabs. They're like, oh, but didn't you say you were going to do this? You know, and it's like, oh shit, like that's sorry, but you know, it's like, wow, this is cool. Like I feel taken care of. I feel a part of the family. You know.
I remembered.
Yeah.
I remembered. Yes. Yes. You know when you forget something?
Yeah, and you do a U-turn.
Yes.
Yeah.
Victory has emerged on the Don's Table podcast.
That's funny.
All right, so boom. So these people are just a cart. It's not branded. It is a business, but they really are the business and they are also the brand.
100%.
Imagine if we help them brand it and communicate their story, their personality, their service in the cart.
That was my goal.
Just
like, I have things designed already. Like it's just a matter of selling it to people.
Yeah.
I went up to
we could create a request to get funding from some sort of companies or nonprofits.
100%. And like I have to figure out that process because I'm more about like I feel like a workhorse. I'm just like get me behind the computer and I'll do the thing. But when it comes to like writing and grants and all that stuff, like I have friends that are good at that. I'm not good at that. I'll be honest.
Who needs friends when you got Chat GPT, baby?
Well,
Stop playing. Don't play on chat.
But there's like I created like a sea of, and this was like the first year, like as soon as I started Natives, I'm like, I'm gonna design a bunch of stuff. And like I went up to like a coquito guy, and not a coquito guy, he was like the ices, the Italian ices. And I have coquito on the brain clearly. It's that holiday season. And I tried to give him my spiel, but I didn't do a really good job because I was like, oh, I used to work for the city and like, AKA, I know what I'm doing. He's like, oh, no, yo no quiero hacer nada. Like he thought it was like a city regulation or like I'm like a legit person that's like, I don't know. Like he was just afraid. He immediately shut down. He's like, yeah, like I've known you since I was like 4, bro. Like you've been selling these ices in front of the school since I was a kid. You were always in the park. Like I grew up with you. Like Juancito, like bro, it's just me, you know, like I'm trying to help you. So it's hard. It's like, it's not an easy thing, but we all know this guy in the neighborhood. He's the only one that sells this. So that's crazy. No brand. It's just, you know, the little like coco mango cherry, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, it sucks because you wanna help them and they can't justify what it takes or whatever, but it's crazy because you're right. They have no branding, but they have like the business and they're both, you know, it's like they merged. Crazy. And that's the strong, like they have a strong following, which is crazy.
That's crazy, man. Like that just hit me so hard because just hitting that made me feel fulfilled about this entire episode. It just made me feel really good how everything came together. And that's the thing. I feel like every episode, there's like literally topics that I talk about, like not caring about money, just being yourself, being passionate. And I always touch on our neighborhoods. Like we're entrepreneurs and we freelancing, but it's like, bro, people in our neighborhood have been doing this since we were kids. Like that guy, he's self-employed. He buys that at a certain price. It goes based off the market. If the coquitos go up, it's going to go up by X%. What do you mean it's $2 now? It was just $1 last year. Yeah, homie, inflation.
100%.
Cost of goods sold, COGS. You ever heard of that? You know what I mean? So we grew up in neighborhoods where we have these examples in our faces. They just don't know the university terms, the professional terms. You know what I mean? So it's interesting. It's interesting like that.
Yeah, they just hit the ground running. They got here. They're like, well, we're going to get to work. We got to figure it out, you know?
Yeah.
Comiendo y friendo. I love saying that.
Facts.
My favorite.
That's such a Steph line.
Comiendo. I'll never forget. He's like my father, my uncle. He's like a huge, important person to me. The owner of the bike shop, Ozzy Perez. He's like, you know, Héctor, Rue Crew Hector's like the Uptown mayor, but I would say Ozzy Perez is like the Washington Heights mayor. And he said that to me on my first day. Comiendo y friendo, get to work, like, you know, figure it out. So I'll never forget that. But,
yeah, that's quite the liner.
Yeah.
That's funny. Man, Uptown, from Uptown to the world.
For sure.
You know, I was born in the Dominican Republic. I was raised in the Bronx in Fordham. We got Inwood in the building. Yeah. Man, I don't have a formal way of closing this out, but I would say you're one of those people, like I was saying earlier, I want the world to know who you are.
Appreciate that.
And this is the type of spark for you getting out there. Because for me, for the longest, I was a behind the camera kind of guy. I'm the guy in the play, but I'm not playing at the play. I'm actually moving the curtains, doing the lights, not literally, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah. The back end.
Yeah, and that's what you are to me. You do so much for other people, and I love that you're getting out there like this because people need to know who you are because you do dope, cool shit.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate that.
Of course.
It means a lot.
I appreciate you coming through.
Likewise. Thank you for having me.
If there's anything you want to close out and let the world know about you or the community.
Man, that's heavy. That's a lot of pressure.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I almost want to like close out. It's so silly, but like instead of like tip your bartender, like treat your creatives right, and just have patience, and like know what you want, and I promise for those people that are like struggling to get their brand out there or to just get on their feet, like take your time. It's okay. You don't have to rush. And I feel like I work at my own pace, honestly. Like I can work fast, but I'm not going to be proud of the final product. Take your time. It's your baby. Like put everything, all the pilas that you have, put it into what you're doing. And I swear it will work out. Something will come into fruition. So as long as you take your time, you're good.
Yeah.
So
facts. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming through.
Thank you for having me.
Episode 4. You already know. We'll catch y'all homies on the next one. Steph from Natives and Many Things, creative director of Mr. FU. You're basically one for us. Yeah. We just gotta put it on LinkedIn. You feel me?
I gotta change my LinkedIn. Yeah.
That's it. Yo, thank you for coming through. Thank you guys for tuning in. Catch you on the next one. Bye.